Hello Facebook, welcome to Brooke the Cook. And today I'm going to be prepping something. Actually, this whole video is going to be a progress of me cooking, but I'm starting this recipe 2 days in advance. This is in Black Angus beef bottom round roast, and I'm going to cook it kind of like a prime rib. Eventually I'm going to sear it and then roast it in the oven until it's all juicy and delicious inside. But to start that, I am going to start a couple days in advance. And I have dried this meat. I've taken it out of the package and it was all juicy. I patted all the juices off of it, and now I'm going to salt it. I'm going to season it with some Happy Pilgrim, use it on everything, original garlic salt. And I got this as a present for Christmas. I like the name of it, Happy Pilgrim. I've always considered myself to be kind of a Pilgrim child. My family's from Massachusetts. They say we came on Mayflower, but who knows? Maybe. It smells so good, and I think the ingredients are kosher salt, garlic, and black pepper. That's it. I think it's just dried garlic that they probably just granulate. It smells really good though. I've been putting it in a bunch of stuff since I got it for Christmas, and I actually made this recipe for my grandpa's birthday, and it was just a test then. And the first time I did it, I took it out of the package and I just let it dry on its own, like in the fridge. I just left it in the fridge to dry, and then I seasoned it before I cooked it. So this time I think I'm gonna just season it while it's drying in the fridge. It might help the process a little bit, or it can make it worse. Who knows? Hopefully not worse, because this is for my husband's birthday. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna start putting a liberal amount of this onto the steak. Don't be shy, can't hurt it. Just gonna rub it in there. So this is a pretty lean cut of meat. It's cheaper. Not that I don't love my husband and don't want to spend tons of money on him for his birthday, but he doesn't really care how expensive the beef is. As long as it once had a heartbeat and it's red, he likes it. So it's true. I'm pretty much the same way, even though ribeye is my guilty pleasure. I love a good ribeye. And I've never had like a good dried steak like from a restaurant. Those are so expensive. I've always wanted to, but I just figure I can just dry the meat in the fridge for a couple days. So we're just gonna put a ton, oh my gosh, I'm using so much of it, but you know what? It's gonna be good. It's all gonna, flavor's all gonna soak in throughout the steak. And then once this is all salted, I'm literally just gonna put it on a plate. I'm not gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna put it in the fridge to dry it. And this is gonna help it brown. It sounds weird and oh my gosh, Brooke, germs, but don't worry about it. I did this once when I was cooking a goose for Christmas, because I always wanted to cook a goose for Christmas just because of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. They talk about the Christmas goose, and always wanted to try it. So I had to go to a farm and get a goose, and I had to take it to a facility to get it not living anymore myself. 2 days before Christmas, and almost nobody there spoke English. But it was like their Publix. It was, or you know, it was like their regular grocery store. Everybody that was there, and they're like, "Is this your pet?" I'm like, "No, it's not." But anyway, I don't know why I started talking about the goose. Oh yeah, because I'm gonna dry it. And it helps make the outside nice and crispy. Because if you want whatever it is, if you want it to be crispy, it needs to be dry. That's just the way it works. That's why we put like flour on like onion rings and whatever it is and chicken before we fry it in oil. It helps get that crispiness because it's nice and dry. Because if you just throw the chicken in there, it will still get crispy, but it doesn't have that like crunch that we want. So we want it to be nice and dry. There we go. All right, that is fully. Missed a corner. Yeah. Alrighty. So, this is completely and utterly salted in the Happy Hippie garlic salt. It smells so good. I want to eat it now. But it's not cooked yet, and I'm not a barbarian, so I'm going to put it on this plate. I'm going to put it fat side down because I don't care about the fat getting dried out so much, because that's just going to render down in the pan anyway, but I want all the red edges to get nice and dry. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to take this and put it on the plate like so. And then this is gonna sit in the fridge for a couple days, and I will see you right before I cook it. Wow, this is close. Okay, so I have my little device here over the stove, so I'm talking to you like this. We're gonna start making the steak now. It has been curing basically in the fridge for the last 3 days, I think, with the Happy Pilgrim garlic salt rub. And so yeah, this is what it looks like. So you can see it's got a lot darker and it's very dry, which is good. Like nothing, even there's no juice whatsoever. No idea how this is gonna come out because I've never done this. I've never cooked a steak like this before where I cured it in the fridge for 3 days. I have my cast iron skillet. It is heating up. You want your skillet to be nice and hot because right now we're just gonna sear it. We're gonna sear on all sides, and then we are gonna put it in the oven at 325 for, last time it took probably about an hour and a half, but this one's smaller, so maybe only an hour. But I do have a very fancy thermometer thingy that I'm going to put on it. I'm gonna cook it in the oven at 325 until it gets to 135 degrees, and that'll be like a medium rare, mostly rare. So yeah, here we go. Alright, the pan is nice and warm. It's getting smoky, so I'm just going to start by putting it on the first side. That's a good sizzle. And we're just going to sear it on all sides. We're not looking to cook it here. We just want to make sure that all the juice gets trapped inside. I have my trusty tongs. Oh my gosh, it's only been on for like 30 seconds and it's already smelling really good. Okay, now that it's nice and browned on all sides, I'm going to put the fat side down into the pan. And I've turned off the heat on this, and now we're going to put the thermometer in. Okay, so first things first about this thermometer. I got this at IKEA, and it is awesome. They sell ones just like it, well, a little bit more fancy at Williams-Sonoma, but this does everything. It's amazing. It has different settings. It has cook and timer. We're going to put it to cook, and then we are going to set it to 135. Okay, 135. It's probably backwards, but that's okay. So 135, and then we are going to stick it into, or the pro part, into the thickest part of the meat, because that's where we really got to make sure that the temperature is in. It's hard to get into. That's what she said. Alright, so I'm going to say that that's about the middle, right there. And this bad boy is awesome. It's going to just magnetize right on the edge of the stove, on the door. Oops. I don't know what just happened. Let's turn on the microwave for some reason. So we're going to take this now and put it into the oven. And we will see you in 135 degrees. Okay, so while the steak is cooking, I'm going to make some side dishes to go with the steak, because this is a big manly steak dinner for my husband's birthday. A little light. Clear my eye. Sorry. So I'm going to be making grilled asparagus, and I think I'm going to attempt stuffed mushrooms. What else? Oh yeah, mashed potatoes. So here we go. Okay, so I have never actually made stuffed mushrooms before. I've had them. I can gather that there's breadcrumbs and cheese and mushroom bits in it. And that's basically what I'm going to do. This is how I cook, guys. And I'm not going by an exact recipe. I just kind of improvise with whatever I have in my fridge or my pantry because I gotta use it, so why not? So this is what we have. So I have all the mushrooms. I've taken the stems out, and I had some, and I minced a lot of them. So that is what, get a little bit closer. It's okay. So this is what we have. I'm gonna start by putting these into the bowl. We just need the little guys. Come on, you guys, get in there. Alright, so those are in the bowl, and then I'm going to put in some, these are croutons, but I mashed up the bag like a few days ago, or about a week ago, for something else, and so now it's breadcrumbs. So I'm going to just toss those into the bowl with the breadcrumbs, or with the mushrooms. I mean, okay, so I put the whole thing in. What's the worst that can happen? I have too much stuffing and I have to eat it later? Oh no, that sounds awful. Alright, so it's really dry, and I'm going to be putting some Parmesan cheese in there as well, because cheese is delicious. I'm going to save a little bit of cheese to put on top of them. Still really dry, and I'm thinking either an egg or some milk. I have an egg. I got it in advance because that's kind of what I was thinking. I think I'm going to do an egg. See how that goes, and if the egg's not enough, this is a really small egg, by the way, then I will put in some milk to moisten it up a bit. Alright, so we've got egg there, spatula, and we're just going to toss it. Probably have to put some milk in here. You know what? We're doing milk. Because why not? It's actually half and half, because why not? I don't want it to be too wet though, because I don't want it to like mush out. So just kind of slowly add. If I need more, I'll put in more, but you can't really take stuff out once it's in there. So you know what, I think that's good because mushrooms have a lot of moisture in them, and it'll also help moisten up the breadcrumbs. So there we go, that's what we got. So got our breadcrumbs, and then I'm going to take a little spoon, ta-da, and I'm going to start stuffing them. And I'm not going to put salt or anything in it because these are already like classic Caesar garlic croutons, and so they've already got seasoning and stuff. So yeah, just take the mushrooms, and there you go. Hold on. I'm just going to do this to all of them, and then I'm going to put them in the pan with the steak once it's just about done. Once it's like maybe like 5 degrees away, that's when I'm going to throw them in there. And also when they cook, all the juice is going to come out, and that juice is going to help deglaze my pan so that I can make gravy with the mushroom juice that's mixed in with the steak drippings and everything. So that's going to be the bomb. Alright, so there's mushrooms. Okay, you guys, you can probably hear my dogs eating their food in the background, but it's their dinner time. So we are going to do the asparagus now. I decided I'm not going to grill it because there's a lot of asparagus here, and it would take too long because I don't have a big enough pan for all of them. So I'm just going to put them in the oven as well. It's going to be an oven type of night, except for the potatoes, they're going to be in the stove. So this is really good asparagus. It's nice and fresh, it's not floppy, but this is how you know where to cut asparagus. People are always like, I don't know where to cut it. Should I just make it all the same size? Should I cook the whole thing? So what I learned in culinary school is you take it right down the middle and you snap it. And wherever it snaps, that's where it's not going to be, because the tough end tends to be kind of stringy, and then this part's really tender. So Yeah, and I just did another one, and look, oh wow, they're in the same spot. So once you have your base, you can take a chunk of them, and then you can just line up the tops, and then just kind of cut right there. Or you can snap them all, because it's fun. But if you want to do it quick, then you can just cut them like that. Simple enough. So I'm going to do the rest, and then I'm going to put them on a pan. Olive oil, salt and pepper, real simple. Not too complicated because the rest of the food is going to have a lot of flavor in it. So, yeah, there you go. Okay, so now I'm just getting the potatoes ready. I'm just going to cut them up to size so they're all about the same size. I'm kind of quartering these, or I guess eighthing them, so that they all are nice and small. Not too small, but small enough that they don't cook too slow. And you put the potatoes in the water when it's cold. That way the inside and the outside of the potato can all cook at the same time as the temperature rises. Otherwise the outside's going to get real mushy and the inside's still going to be raw. So bring it all up to temperature at the same time. I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there. Not too much, because you can flavor it afterwards. There you go. Some salt. And then just boil them until they're soft. Not that hard. Mashed potatoes are pretty simple. Alright, we've reached 135. And look at that beautiful thing. Awesome. Alright, I'm going to take this out of the oven and let it rest. Oh my gosh. Alrighty kids, so I have drained the potatoes. And I'm going to put in a whole stick of butter. That's right. This is how I do it. I'm going to let that melt a little bit. I put it back on the stove so it's still hot. The potatoes are fine, don't worry. Then I'm going to throw in some milk, salt, and pepper. Oh, also I forgot to mention that I put in garlic cloves with the potatoes when they were boiling. I'm just going to mash that all together with this bad boy. And then we will have mashed potatoes. It's going to stop your heart, but it'll be the best moment of your life. Okay, everybody, this is the big moment. To see whether or not this looks as good on the inside as it does on the outside. Cut the first piece. Looks pretty good. We're getting deeper. Doesn't look too shabby. I mean, it looks good, so we'll see how it all tastes. We'll ask the husband. Alrighty, this is it, the whole dinner. We have the asparagus, the steak, nice and pink, stuffed mushrooms, and mashed potatoes. There it is. What do you think, baby?
Looks good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Can't wait to eat it.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the camera to be on my face too.
Alright, that's it. All done. Bon appetit. Okay, so we just finished dinner, and the mashed potatoes were beautiful. So the asparagus, the mushrooms were really good, so you should remake those. The steak, it was good, but the outside was a little chewy, and that was probably due to it being cured in the fridge for 3 days. If it was just 1 day, probably not so bad, but it was basically starting to turn into jerky on the outside. The inside was beautiful, nice and soft, but the outside was a little too much. So if I would do it over again, I would probably do it the first time I made it, like I told you earlier in the video, how I just let it dry in the fridge for a day and then just season it right before. That way it doesn't get all tough on the outside like that. But other than that, it was pretty good, right? I mean, he ate everything. a huge platter. So that's my big boy. Happy birthday, baby. Welcome.
I had help.
You had help. I ate 2 bites. I ate a little bit.